Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. We can hear you.
Great. It's good afternoon, right? I'm sharing the screen with you guys, and we'll be going through the model that you have copies. I don't know, Classroom, do you have copies of the model with you?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Classroom.
Hello, sir.
Do you all have
Please, we
the
have.
copies of the model?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, the one
Hello,
I'm
Mr.
sharing
Idris.
now. Say again.
Mr. Idris, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'll be
Please,
relying on your response, class rep.
I,
Um,
Mr. Idris, please, 1 minute. I'm an online
oh,
monitor from Code, so I'll be recording this class. I just wanted you to be aware.
oh, that's fine. I'm
Yes.
happy you've joined us.
Yeah, I'm supposed to monitor the online class and ensure there's a smooth class going on. So I wanted you to be
You're
aware.
welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. In
Thank you
fact,
very
enjoy
much.
our class, yeah?
Okay, thank you very much.
But by the time we finish, I'll issue you with a certificate.
Thank you very much, sir.
So you better send me your full name and then the credentials you want me to put on your certificate, yeah?
All right, sir. I'll do that.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
So should I be expecting response from you, right? No, the class rep is better. Okay.
Yeah, the class rep is the one supposed to do that.
Okay. You
All
know
right.
when you're speaking and there's no feedback, it looks like you are talking to yourself. You're talking in an empty room.
Yeah, well, that's very true. But then um they have to mute themselves. So when you ask them a question and they unmute and then they will answer you.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
yeah.
so that
I
doesn't
know the
interact
concepts.
with others.
Just that sometimes the student it feels some awkward with some level of silence before they unmute, kind of like and speak to you.
I
Anyway,
get
good afternoon to you all. This is our first
Good
session of
afternoon,
the
sir.
good
class.
Good
afternoon, sir.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Uh, thank you. We'll be,
Okay.
as I said earlier on, we'll be going through the model that all of you have. So if you have yours, keep in mind. But I'm sharing mine so that we can all benefit. Okay. Okay. This course is in three
Okay,
forms.
sir.
We have, I mean, three courses in one. You have three subjects in one course. What it means is that at the end of the program, you'll be having three subjects. You'll be learning from three subjects that are all important, okay, in your life. Let me tell you this. This is the only course that is practical in nature. We'll not be giving you examples that are abstract. We'll be giving you examples that you can relate with. In fact, the second session of this course, which is first aid, is supposed to be practical. It's supposed to be do and let me see. But by nature of your program, we will not be able to meet. And so because of that, we've created the model in such a way that if you follow step by step with pictures that we provided, you should be good. So as I said earlier on, we'll have disaster management, we have first aid, and then we have occupational health and safety or occupational hazards. as subjects for this course. Now, today I might forgive you because I've not informed you earlier. But every time we're going to have a class, we'll be having a quiz, and I will record it. We'll be having a quiz with Kahoot, which will be online, and then I'll save the results and then record it. So if you miss a class, you're doing it at your own risk. Now that let's set rules for this class. If you cannot hear me, put up your hand, and then I will see the resource person to address that matter. Two, you are free to interrupt me if you have a question. Just interrupt, but don't do it rudely, do it respectfully, please. And I will attend to your question. If I'm speaking too fast or too slow, class rep, you have the duty to prompt me. And then we'll be making further rules as we go on. Do you understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Good. Okay, so as I said earlier on, we'll be relying largely on the model. So today we're going to start with introduction to disaster management. But before we get into that, I want to know if any one of you has a question.
Yes, I do.
Please go on.
Okay. So good afternoon once again, and a little observation from the models. The model we have has quite some number of empty sheets. I don't know whether it's coming from our side or where it's coming from. We have some units that are just empty. Um, no, not many contents there.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
some in unit 3. There are lots unit 5, 6 thereabouts. And so I
Okay.
just wanted to draw your attention to that.
Yes, that is noted. Those units will not be covering them. This model is still under development. Okay,
Okay.
and so those sections sorry, those sections or units will not be covered, and that anything that you do not cover or anything that we don't give you content in, we will not examine you on.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. And then let me also throw in this question is because the course is in in 3 subjects, we don't want to overload you with informations. Uh, Too much of informations, you may forget some of them. And who knows which one you may forget. Perhaps you may forget the very important ones that we want you to remember. So we will not be overloading you with information. Perhaps one of the reasons why those pages are not covered. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you. That's
You're
refreshing.
welcome. Any other question, please? Okay, all clear then. Let's dive in. Yeah.
Sir,
As I
sorry.
said, if you have any question, just feel free to interrupt me. Yes.
Sir, please, if we can know your name so that in anything.
Okay. My name is Idris Kambari. I've been teaching this course for 7 years. Is it 7 years or 8 years? I forgot. I think 9 years, right? Well, I don't remember. But I've been teaching this course for a while at UCC with the sandwich students. Um, this is my second year, third year for teaching code students. One funny thing about code students is that you don't get to meet them. You just talk to people far and wide. And since I started handling this course with code, I've never met any student in person. In any case, it's difficult to meet me from last year. I've not been in the country. So it's all good. I mean, this is one of the things that technology brought to us that make us interact, even if we are not close together. So, as I said earlier on, my name is Idris Kambari. You can call me Kambari. You can call me Idris. Anyone that feels that you can remember, I'm cool with that. Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Any other question or concern, please, before we dive in?
So my second
Okay.
concern is
That's
about the form that the quiz. You are saying that every time that you meet us, we'll be having a quiz. We want to know what
yeah.
form is going to take.
Oh, don't be afraid. It's just multiple choice. Okay. And then I'm likely to use Kahoot to do that questions, but I will record it.
Yes, sir.
You
The
know what
reason why I'm
Kahoot is,
asking is
right?
that Ghana, some of us we are faced with network challenges and all that. So that's why I'm asking so that in case of a situation like that, we know what to do, sir.
Well, the quiz will be online. You should have a strong network. But if you don't have a strong network, we'll find a way. But I will encourage you to do your best to find a strong network. Before, if you fall in trouble, we'll address your concern.
Yes, sir. Well noted. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, sir, to add to what my brother just said, most of us we are using cell phones. I don't know whether it will be suitable for the quiz
Oh,
you are
yes.
talking of.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
It's something that comes handy. I mean, Kahoot, I don't know. Okay, some of you after the class can go and read about it. It is, but if I find that it will be challenging for some of you, I'll find another way of doing it. But we'll have a quiz and I'll give you time to answer the questions and then submit them to me online. Okay? Don't worry, we'll all be fine. Okay? I'll
Hello,
make
sir.
sure I'll make sure we are all fine. Okay?
Hello, sir.
Good.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, I just wanted to find out if, with the quiz you're talking about, is it going to be added to our normal quizzes that we will be taking face to face and then the presentations, or it's totally something different? Or after this quiz,
I,
we wouldn't take your any other quiz in your
no,
course?
you'll be doing your normal quizzes, okay? But
Okay.
this quiz is for my own assessments, okay, which will inform me what to do with you going forward. There comes a time when many of you, during the normal quizzes that you do with code, you may not find, for one reason or the other, you may not participate in those quizzes. Yes, I will look on this quiz to um to grade you. That's not that's not to say that the quiz we are going to do will have no impact on your assessment. In fact, it will form a larger portion of your assessment. But let me throw in this question. Please don't be too concerned about the quiz. Okay. I rather want you to understand what we are treating. And the quiz that I'm talking to you about will give you a very deeper understanding of each topic we treat here. Normally, the quiz is supposed to be a revision of the topic that we treat in class. You understand? So don't be too concerned about the quiz, and nobody will score zero. The questions are so flexible, and they will give you upper hand when you write your main quiz at code. but I will record it anyway.
All right. Very well, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Okay, enough of that. When we have you can throw in your question. As I said, you can interrupt me anytime, okay? Okay. So we begin. I'll be reading it and then explaining it to you. If I'm tired reading, I'll call any of you to help me read. Yeah?
Yes, sir. We are good to
Okay.
go, sir.
Good, my good friends. We'll begin with the introduction to disaster management, which form part of your course leading to acquisition of a degree. Okay, let's start from Ola outline. We'll look at the background and introduction to disaster management. We'll also look at types and classification of disasters. Then we'll look at terminologies related to disasters or disaster management. Now, this portion is very, very important because you need to speak like a disaster manager, okay, with somebody who manages disaster. Creating this course is very easy because many of you have work experience. Many of you are workers. So some of the examples will be given will relate to your workplace. And some of you even have examples that you can relate with that you share sometimes you share with the class. Very, very insightful. So feel free if you have an example, just share it with the class. Then we will look at types of disasters. Now, what you should know is that we have take note of this. We have types of disasters and classification of disasters. You know, so we'll be looking at the difference when we say types of disasters and then when we say classification of disasters. Take note of these differences, okay? And then we'll be looking at phases of disasters. I mean, when we say phases of disasters, so we want to, it's kind of like similar to types of disasters, but we look at it in terms of um, how does disaster degenerate? What phases, like the phase we have, your own phase. How does disaster when it happens? How does it change? You know. So this is the outline for um this this unit. Okay. Um. So let's zoom into overview. We'll begin with the introduction to disaster management, which form part of your course leading to acquisition of degree in BA Social Behavior and Conflict Management. It promises to be interesting as it talks about disasters, their influence on your environment and the way to manage disasters and its effects as humans. In general, we'll be introduced to the concept of disasters and terminologies of disasters to enable us set the stage for its application in our discussions on this topic. This unit will attempt to make clear to you the principle behind the concept of disasters, why we need to worry ourselves about disaster management, what role disaster plays in the socio-economic development of our society, what shall again proceed to discuss. We shall again proceed to discuss types of disasters, classification of disasters, and then end the unit with phases of disasters. So, just as I said, those are the outlines that we will be discussing this this afternoon. Now, these are your take homes. Our objective is one, to understand and define a disaster. Now, the definition of the disaster will bring its own understanding. Okay. Now, there are some salient points and words in the definition that you should take note. Please, mind you, We are not going to be academic in this course. We're going to be practical in nature. So if you don't give me a fine definition, that is the written question, I mean the written exams, you don't give me fine definition in terms of English language, but you're able to demonstrate that you understand what the definition means, I'll be able to, I will reward you. I'll give you full marks. Okay. So don't worry yourself in pumping and chewing and no, that is not my focus. The focus of this course is for you to understand what the course actually seek to make you, I to understand the contents, okay, and be able to apply them at work or wherever you find yourself. Okay. So don't worry too much about being so academic in your definition of disaster, but you must be able to demonstrate to me that you understand clearly what it means if we say define disaster. Okay. So demonstrate an understanding and definition of disaster. Two, explain terminologies and principles of disaster management. So let me repeat again, in your explanation, you have to demonstrate to me you understand. Three, describe the types of disasters. And as I told you, we'll look at the types of disaster and the classification of disasters. They are different. Then four, describe classification of disasters. Five, discuss the difference between types of disasters and classification of disasters. I keep repeating this because I want you to get to understand the distinction between these two. Understanding the distinction between these two makes your the understanding very easy. Then explain the phases of disaster when a disaster strikes. So when a disaster strikes, what process, what stages does it go through? Okay, what stages does it go through? How does it graduate? What are the changes? What do you notice? Those are the phases of disaster. Any question up to this point?
No, sir.
Okay then. Yes. Yes.
Sir, no question.
Good. So let's proceed from here. So now let me give you a background introduction of what disaster means. Okay. Now, dear students, welcome to the first session of this unit of the course Introduction to Disaster Management. As you are all made aware from the overview of the unit, that the first thing we will discuss is to introduce ourselves the concept of disasters. This will give us the basic understanding on which we can build a firm foundation on the topic. Disaster has been with us from ancient times. All of us may have heard or seen a disaster before, either on radio or television of a kind in the world. In fact, the term disaster is wide and everyone has their way of understanding its meaning. You will have to discuss your view with your colleagues. Now, let me ask you this question. Before you even get to know the definition of disaster, can somebody tell me what disaster in your own term means? Anyone?
Okay, I want to try.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So disaster is any event, either natural or man-made, that actually disrupts the normal normal operations of society with
Good.
regards to food shortage,
Mm,
destruction of property and lives,
good.
and um, and it requires external assistance.
Good. Good, good, good. That's very, very comprehensive. Any other person? Any other person?
So,
Sir,
Yeah, yeah.
so we can say maybe a sudden event or unforeseen event that cause damage or human loss.
Good, good, very good. Now, what you should note is that, as I said earlier on, I want you to demonstrate understanding. Okay. So if you're defining disaster in your own words, I will not penalize you. Okay. So that being said, let's go on. Disasters have massive human and economic costs. They may cause many deaths, severe injuries, and food shortages. Anticipating the potential consequences of disaster can help a community determine the actions that need to be started before the disaster strikes to minimize its effect. In this chapter, we shall define disaster and other related terms like hazard, vulnerability, and preventions. We shall also look at types of disaster and some basic concepts of the subject. Now, let's look at definition of disaster. The word disaster is not new to us. Many of us use the word in our day-to-day conversation. However, what is the actual definition of disaster? Over the years, some scholars have propounded some definition of disasters. For the purpose of this course, we shall consider three definitions from the WHO. Now, what is WHO? Anyone? What is WHO?
Hello, sir.
World Health
Yes.
Organization.
Good. So we are going to consider, sorry about that. We are going to consider definition of disaster from the perspective of the World Health Organization. Now, the World Health Organization defines disaster as sudden ecological phenomenon of sufficient magnitude to require external assistance. So the definition is it should be sudden, it should be ecological in nature, and should require external assistance. That is according to who? Now, scholars have also, it is also defined as, that is from scholars, defined as any event typically occurring suddenly that causes damages, ecological disruption, loss of human life, deterioration of and health services, which exceed the capacity of the affected community on a scale sufficient to require outside assistance. It is an emergency of such severity and magnitude that the resultant combination of deaths, injuries, illness, and property damage cannot be effectively managed with routine procedures or resources. It means with normal procedures or resources. From the above definition, we can safely say that a disaster is any event. So, this is in our own words. A disaster is any event in which a society experiences damages, death, acute deprivation of food, and other basic necessity due to natural or man-made tragedies, to the extent that the normal functions of the society or the community is disturbed and cannot survive, and the community cannot survive without help from outside or without help from others. So when we take the two definitions provided above, we can safely say anything that happens in our community, in our society, okay, that results in death, that results in food shortage, that disrupts our day-to-day um our day-to-day activities on a magnitude that is so large, okay, that makes living very, very, very disruptive, very, very uncomfortable. Okay, we can safely term that to be a disaster. And we're going to see examples as we go ahead. Now, these are the terms we need. This is what we need to focus on in the definition. Take notes. Let me repeat this again. We are not going to be too academic in this subject. We want to be very practical in this subject. But this salient point must be noted. Don't go copy definitions for me. Demonstrate understanding. You understand? Okay. So when we say a disaster, we say it's an event. What is an event? Anybody? Who knows what an event is?
Incidents.
Incident.
Incidents.
Yes. Yes. What other synonym can we use for events?
Occurrence.
Occurrence, yeah.
Unforeseen
Any other?
occurrence.
Occasions.
Occasions, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's an event or an emergency. What is an emergency? Who can give
Something that
me
happened unexpected.
very good an unexpected occurrence? Yes. And then a calamity. Who knows what a calamity is?
Hello, can I come?
Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. An emergency could be unexpected event or unexpected of an activity that has been occurred.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hello.
So, emergency
Hello.
is a sudden event that needs attention.
Good. That is very
Hello.
good. Yes. Go on.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Calamity is an event resulting in great loss.
Very good. That is calamity. Any other person who knows what a calamity is? Any other person?
No, sir.
Calamity,
Yeah, go on. Calamity.
calamity could be any evil event or bad event that has been
Good.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Calamity is anything bad that occurs to us. Okay, so those are some of the terms that find themselves whenever you are defining a disaster. And as I told you, those words that you were using, like calamity, anything bad, emergency, anything that's needed, I mean, that happens that you need to take additional steps, and events, anything that occurs occasionally. Okay, if you use them in your definition, I will not penalize you. Okay, or in your explanation, I will not penalize you. Two, that a disaster, aside being an event or emergency or a calamity, it causes distractions to lives and properties. So it threatens life or destroys properties. Then three, it should be on a scale large enough to require external help. It should be large enough, it should be such that you will need an assistant, the community will need an assistant. Okay, it's not that when you are walking on the streets, you hit your leg on a stone, then you call it a disaster. No, unless your foot is cut off as a result of that, and you are bleeding profusely, then you need somebody to, then you may call a disaster. But many of you was walking on the street, then you hit, then you call it a disaster. Sometimes your salary doesn't drop, you say it is a disaster. Well, it may be a disaster though, you know, because sometimes when your salary doesn't drop, you may require you may require somebody to assist you externally. Okay. So get the definition very clearly. Okay. For that matter, it is not every event that we
Hello,
can.
sir.
Yes, yes, I can
Sir,
hear
good
you.
afternoon. Abdullah.
Yes, go ahead,
Please,
Abdullah.
sir, I want to know the difference between a disaster and then an accident. I don't know if an accident can become a disaster. Please,
Yes.
if you
So
can
an
explain it
accident,
here.
we said in the definition of a disaster that it's an event. Is that not it? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. So an accident is an event, and an accident can mean anything. Okay. So an accident can mean um a car crash. It means something that you do not pay attention. I mean, something that has occurred as a result of the fact that you do not pay attention to whatever you are doing. I get it. So it is an event. It falls in the category of an event that can be described, okay, in line of a definition. Yeah, I mean disaster. Do you understand? An accident comes in many forms. We will get to the terminologies, and you will see an accident as part of the definitions for terminology. I mean terminologies for disasters. You understand? So
Yes, sir.
for that matter, it's not every event that we can call a disaster. It's only those events with the element listed above that can properly be called a disaster. So at this juncture, all the definition we stated above is now. Can somebody give me definition of disaster in their own terms? At this point, if you can speak your language, I will accept it. The caveat is that I should be in a position to understand the language you are speaking. But I can speak many Ghanaian languages, about 13 Ghanaian languages. So I want a definition of disaster in everybody's language. Let's start. Who wants to give me the definition of disaster in their language?
Sir, please let us know the languages that you speak so that we will know how to
Don't
start,
worry,
sir.
if it doesn't fall into my class of language, I'll let you know. But I'm sure there will be somebody in here that will be able to tell me whether or not what you are saying is correct or wrong. Yeah, don't be smart. Come
So
on, let's
my
go.
my my own language, you I'm not sure you understand.
Just speak it and see whether I understand or not. So you first.
Okay.
Let's go.
Atorenchem.
Torrenchem. Perfect. Perfect. Yes. Any other person? Atorenchem is disaster in pan or tree, right?
So, sir, in Ghana, we say
Yeah. You say what? Shna? Are you right?
disaster.
Yeah, yes, yes, Shula, yes. Yes. Any other person?
Say fancy.
Wisdom.
Fancy,
No
yes.
way.
Akwensia.
Saying ever.
Aquentia.
Nyo.
Atorenchem, Aquentia. Yeah,
Say ever.
they're
We
words.
say afoku.
Afoku. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
afoku.
Afoku. I was
Yeah.
um I was teaching this subject at but there are more words in ever for the definition of disaster apart from Afoku. You know?
Afoku.
Uh,
Afoku. I know.
Afoku.
Jobberwood,
Every,
Say again?
Jobberwood.
Jogbogwe.
very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
happy you guys understand.
Hello,
Yeah.
sir.
So just keep the
Hello, sir.
basic understanding.
Hey, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Go on.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sir, in the band or Mapule, we say Saraki.
What? Your
Saraki,
line is
Saraki,
breaking.
Saraki.
Go on.
Okay.
I can
I'm
hear
saying
you now.
either in the band or Mapule, we say Saraki. It's like
Cherokee.
a half cool. So
Oh, that's okay.
Saraki,
That's
Saraki.
okay.
It's not Saraki. Uh,
But there is another word. I'm not familiar with this one. You are so deep. Do you know?
in 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 the valley of Mapule.
In Dabani, there's another word for
I'm so
disaster.
there.
What? Can you hear me? Hello, can you
Yes,
hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Yes.
Yes, I
What
can
is
hear
the
you.
other words in Dabani?
We are used to the Saraki.
Okay, if I remember, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm coming. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that
If
we
I,
can.
Maybe
I'm also going to think about it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for trying.
can say
Okay. Yeah.
hello.
Do you have another word? Hello? Okay. So let's continue. Now, having said this, I think all of us can relate with terms terminologies in disasters. Okay. Just focus on some of the examples some of the words you gave me in your language or in your dialect, and then know, okay, have an idea of what disaster stands for. Okay, it's good to relate to what you are very conversant with your in your own environment and your language. Okay, now let's look at terminologies of disasters. Now, this is supposed to make you speak like a disaster manager. This is also supposed to make you professional. If you if you tell somebody that you study disaster management, you should be able to speak and be seen using some of these words. Or when you are to manage a disaster and you are to write reports, now these are some of the terminologies that you may be using in your report writing. Now, as we noted earlier on, we start with emergency. An emergency is a state in which normal procedures are suspended and extraordinary measures are taken in order to avert a disaster. This means that the normal day-to-day activities of a person, community, or the government are put on hold, and an alternative measures put in place to forestall an event. So whenever there is an emergency, you realize that it disrupts the normal flow of life. Let's assume that you wake up in the morning. Normally, you go to the washroom, brush your teeth, take your bath, eat breakfast, walk out, take your car, go to work, or join the public transport. That is your normal your normal procedures day of life. Now, when there is an emergency, let's say you wake up in the morning and you have stomach ache and you are running kind of like that day, it will interrupt with this normal flow of life. You may not be able to go to work, you may stay in bed, you may require somebody to come take care of you, so you may want to call an ambulance to come take you to the hospital, you know. So it will not be normal, it will not be normal things as usual. That is the meaning of an emergency. Anything that disrupts your flow of life is an emergency. Now, hazard. Hazard is natural or human-made events or elements in the environment that can adversely affect human life, property, or activity to the extent of causing a disaster. Now, in other words, it is anything that has the potential to cause a disaster. Now, note that hazard itself, that is not a disaster. It is something that can cause a disaster. It is essential to make distinctions between hazard and disaster. We must, however, take note that the presence of hazard by itself can neither cause risk nor disaster. So the presence itself is risky, but it cannot cause a disaster. Now, I hope you are following. Susceptibility.
Yes, yes, sir. We are following keenly.
Say again, if you have a question.
So we said we are following.
Good. So susceptibility. There is this gentleman in the last year's class also. There is no way he can pronounce this word, susceptibility. I tried him several times and we just have to give up. We just have to give up on him. So susceptibility, and many of you are like that. I'm sure if we should take accounts, many of you will not be able to pronounce, but it's okay. I mean, it's okay. This is not our word. When you give a white man a Atorenchem to pronounce, you laugh your stomach out. So susceptibility is exposure to danger. It means a person or society is likely to experience danger. So it means you, by virtue of the location or by virtue of the activity of the person is engaged with or the society is engaged with, it is likely they will experience danger or disaster. So take note, take for example, a low-lying community like Keta before the sea defense project. Okay, Keta, for instance, could be say susceptible to flooding. I mean, sea flooding kind of. You understand? And then also, if you live in a very dirty community, that community is susceptible to diseases like cholera, like um, diarrhea, like typhoid. Okay, that is susceptibility. Now, vulnerability. Vulnerability is the degree at which a person or society may suffer a loss or damage from a calamity. It's define the extent of weakness in a particular group of people. Factors such as demographics, the age, and resilience of the environment, technology, social differentiation, diversity, as well as regional and global economic and political influences, its intensity. There are different predisposing factors that make vulnerable the survivors, some of which include property, population growth, rapid urbanization, transitions in cultural practices, and environmental degradation. So there are different disposing factors that make vulnerable the survivors of disasters, of which include poverty, population growth, rapid urbanization, transition in cultural practice, and environmental degradation. Okay, just as a so what vulnerability essentially mean is weakness. Okay, one word that you can use for vulnerability is weakness. So vulnerability simply means weakness, and how weak a person is depends on some factors like age and demography, that is location, and then sometimes gender, and also race. Okay, so and then take note that vulnerability depend. I mean, we have different forms of vulnerability in terms of different disasters or different risks. Okay, you can be vulnerable to one type of risk and not be vulnerable to another type of risk. You understand? Yeah. Okay, so we looked at terminologies, we looked at emergency, we looked at hazard, we looked at susceptibility, we looked at vulnerability. Does anybody has a question on these ones before we proceed?
Yes, sir. So can we give an example of a hazard? Because we say it's different from disaster. So
Yes, that's a very good question. So who can tell me what is the difference? I mean, who can give me an example of hazards compared to disaster? Anybody want to try?
So consider be a company or an area where chemicals are being produced.
Okay.
And that can cause anything to human life or property.
Okay, so in this case, what is the disaster? I mean, what is the hazard, and what type of disaster can it cause?
If it is something like chemicals, like hazardous chemicals.
So the chemical is what?
Maybe electrode or something.
Stand there. Let's take chemical as a whole. Okay, the chemical stands for either, is it the disaster or the hazard?
Is the hazard.
The hazard, exactly. Now, if something happens to the chemical? Okay, it causes a disaster. What type of how would you call that happenings? I mean, what will happen to them?
Maybe
I'm
that
guessing if the chemical spills.
Good. So the spillage of a chemical becomes the disaster. Are you getting it? Let me give you a simple a simple
Sir, can I try some?
example. Yes, go on.
Sir,
Go on.
for instance, let's say you used to feed your child with
Okay.
bottled water.
Okay.
Then you pour maybe some acid in the bottled water, in the bottle, and place it somewhere that the child usually goes there for that water. The child
Okay.
not knowing that it is an acid that is in it, thinking
Okay.
once it's liquid, once the bottle is placed there, this child is thirsty, goes for the
Yeah.
bottle, then drink this acid. You, the
Yeah.
parent, that acid that is poured in the bottle is a hazard that you
Good.
are supposed to place it at a proper place that the child will not go
Good.
for it. So
Okay.
you
Yeah.
not placing it at a proper place and the child thinking it is water.
Negligence.
Once
Go
the
on. Go
child
on.
think it's water, goes for it. So it
Okay.
becomes
So the
a
acid.
disaster, which is an emergency that needed to the child. Now the child is in a situation that needed a medical attention. So
Well explained. Yeah. Yeah. I understand. So the acid is what? The acid in the bottle is what?
Is the hazard.
Is a hazard. You understand? Now, when the child takes it and he suffers illness, it becomes what?
Become a
Hello?
disaster.
I
It
think
becomes
that's
an
a disaster.
Yeah,
Disaster.
that's an emergency. I get it.
emergency. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a disaster to the child because he will need an external intervention, even though it's not
Assistance.
large enough for us to to
Is that
conclude
in
on
this
that.
way? Can you say this is a man-made hazard
Yeah, we'll come there.
per
We'll
your
come to that. We'll
negligence?
come to the classification. Okay. Now let me give you a very simple illustration. Okay. I told you earlier on that Qatar in the Volta region is low lying. Is that not it? Qatar is below
Yes, sir.
sea level. Now the sea is lying there, and Qatar is also close by. Now, when you look at the sea or the river or whatever it is that is at Qatar, the sea itself is not a disaster. What is it?
It's an hazard.
It's a hazard.
So,
If it rushes onto the land, if the waves rush onto the land, then it becomes what?
becomes a
A
disaster.
disaster. I getting it. So even though the sea is there, it's good, they go on it to do fishing and whatever it is not a disaster, but it is lying there in waiting. It is a risk. I mean, it is a disaster in waiting until it is triggered. That is when it becomes. You will come to understand more of this when we proceed. There is more to discuss on that. Okay, I just want you to understand the terminologies. Any other question, please? I hope it's clear. Now you know the difference between hazard and disaster, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
yes, sir.
It will be more clearer when we proceed. Any other question?
Wall in a tanker.
Hello,
Say again?
hello, sir.
Yeah,
Hello, sir.
yeah.
How can we term galamsey?
We will come to that. Okay. We'll discuss
Sir.
Galamsey ahead in the course. Yeah. Any other question? Okay. So at this point, I want to give you 5 minutes to stretch. Okay. We'll come back and continue after 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So take 5 minutes break. We'll be back. Oh no, let's make it 10 minutes. Okay. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Take time
Yes,
to
sir.
stretch. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Class, please, we are taking 10 minutes break. We'll be back
Yes.
exactly 4:10. So please, let's take note. It is now 4. We'll be back in the next 10 minutes. So 4:10, we are coming back, class. Thank you.
Upon software, Kahoot doesn't go business. So let's say Kahoot. K-A-H-O-O-T. Kahoot. Eh, Ina yakin kiran shi kasar topics ne, kasar topic da muke gwada abinci. Sai use basically multiple choice question. They don't know speak game hakan da. Ya kama wani speak game. Sai ya ɗauke question na shi ba. Shi shi mara question. Questions na yayin shi. Ya ɗauke shi. Okay, things. Yeah, so more or less. Shi fara kamar a kamar competition ne. Wani kakar question na wanda ya sa shi fast.
Sir, it appears your mic is on.
Yes, at the
Sir, your
end of
mic
the
is
day,
on.
machine we are classified not only with the win, first, second, third, the Sunday program. It's very interesting. And that's why I used to after every teaching you can we back we count. It's more or less like
Sir, your microphone is on.
can you free version because I go there can be I go there tomorrow. I go free version. My free version is limited. What I can question the viewers, but it's also very exciting. Editor. So, Mesa, those bank statement you done and they got it means like you use one not here. In general, consistency is very important. You can present bank statement, but you can present bank statement, it will bring up an impression. In the consistency, because but to query authenticity bank statement, to query the fact that unexplained amounts they are rich. Yeah, understand. Yeah, the amount in like it. So more or less in the academic command, you come as like a second application. Queries in the academic, those are the besides, those are the essential ones making that you answer because the next like it the office, it is not likely come back second application and will go to the same officer. So I'm not remarkable. According to resources in the language KIRCC portal, you need to attach the accuracy report to the academic. GSA report in the Yakamachi attach it. Among those fundamental queries in the Yaka, you must address them in your new Yaki SOP. Among discouraged because your records are there. You can discourage you have the big question from yeah, kekere wani kuɗi ke shi ne yau bank account kaza tana da kuɗi nan da kana da kuɗi nan da ka gani raise the flag. Wannan ke bara a ji a investigate bank statement in kana whether it is genuine or not. Because when you kind of the two bank statements, why didn't you present them in the first one, initial one, or even if you didn't present it, you didn't even talk about it? You could have said, "Oh, I have this amount of money sitting in this bank, and I have this amount of money sitting in this bank, but I prefer to present this one amount of, this statement." Uh, and, Yes. Bari tunanin shi, I'll call you back. Tamu na yake. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hi guys. Is
Yes,
it
sir. We
fine?
are here, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, we are available.
Thank you. Um, thank you. Thank you. Where are we? You enjoy your 10 minutes break, right? Okay. Is everyone here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I've been, I realized that the attendance has increased. Please, class rep, inform your colleagues that I need everybody to attend the class. As I told you earlier on, we'll be running a quiz at the end of each class. Today I'll forgive you because I'm just informing you. But next week we'll have it, and the weeks that proceed thereafter. Whatever online class is so easy and nice, and you can be cooking your jollof and be listening to me, but make sure that you don't burn your jollof by listening to me. So I would rather prefer you put your jollof away and listen to me. When you take a break, you go back to it. But it's so flexible, and I will rather require that everybody attends. If you fail to attend, it will affect you. Any questions before we proceed? Okay. So we started with introduction. We got to know what the definition of disaster is. We looked at some terminologies that relate to disaster. We looked at emergency, and we said emergency is any event that disrupts our daily activity. We looked at hazard. We said hazard is disaster in waiting. That is an event that can cause disaster, potential elements in a society that can cause disaster. We looked at susceptibility as exposure to danger. We looked at vulnerability as weakness. So we proceed from vulnerability to risk. This is a very common word. Everybody has taken one risk or the other. Well, what is risk in disaster management? Risk is the probability that a person will experience an event in a specified period of time. Risk, a probability that a person will experience an event, in a specific period of time. It is a probability. It doesn't mean that the outcome is certain. The outcome is either or. Good. Risk is a function of hazard and vulnerability. Although it's not mathematics, but it is a combination of, it's a function that hazards and vulnerability come together, okay, to determine your risk level. So when you are at risk, when your hazards is near and your vulnerability meets the hazards, okay, then your risk is high, or the probability of you experiencing risk is high. So risk is a function of hazard and vulnerability, although not strictly mathematics, a relationship that is frequently illustrated with the following formula. Risk is equal to hazard times vulnerability. It means vulnerability and hazard come together determines your risk. That is, risk is the product of hazard and vulnerability. Risk assessment is a term used widely for systematic approach to characterizing the risk posed to individual and population by potentially adverse exposure. What this long English means is that we use hazard and vulnerability in in assessing our risk level. So you want to take a venture, you want to dive into the pool, okay? The water there is the hazard. Your swimming skills determines your vulnerability. If you can swim very well, then the hazard of you drowning is low. If you are not a swimmer, the hazard of you drowning is very high. So that is it for risk. So we cannot talk about risk without speaking about hazards and the vulnerability. Let's go on. The next one is mitigation. Now you will come to notice the difference between mitigation and some other words which we'll discuss later. Mitigation and prevention. Sorry, let me bring it here. You come to know the difference between mitigation and prevention. And that one will be discussed in other topics. Okay, but let me remind you here so that you take note of it. Mitigation is permanent reduction of the risk of a disaster. We have two types of mitigation. We'll discuss mitigation as a topic on its own going forward. We have primary mitigation, which refers to reducing the resistance of the hazard and reducing vulnerability. That is primary mitigation. Then we have secondary mitigation, refers to reducing the effects of the hazard, that is preparedness. Mitigation includes recognizing that disaster will occur. Attempts are made to reduce the harmful effect of a disaster and to limit their impact on human suffering and economic assets. So what mitigation seems to do is just to reduce the risk of a disaster. This is done by putting in place some measures to either prevent the disaster from happening if the disaster is man-made, or to reduce the impact of the disaster if the disaster is natural. We'll look at this once we go forward. Okay. Now then, we have what we call resilience. Resilience has a lot in common with vulnerability. So resilience is adaptability, capacity to recover, the strength or ability to withstand or resist a disaster. We say somebody is when we say resilience, we mean we are looking at strength, the ability to recover, the ability to come back, the ability to regrow. I mean, to come out of the disaster. Okay, so we are looking at the strengths and your abilities. Okay, so the every community and resilience has the resilience of a community is dependent on the level of development of that community. The resilience of a person is dependent on the person's immunity. Okay, so we'll look at these terms ahead. I mean, we discussed more of it when we are discussing mitigation and preparedness in the next chapters. Okay, so um, we've come to the end of terminologies. Do we have questions now? So, as a recap, in terminologies, we looked at emergency. And we said emergency is any event that disrupts our social life. I mean, normal procedures of life. Then we look at hazard as anything that has the potential to cause a disaster. So it is a disaster in waiting. Then we look at susceptibility, which is just an exposure, how a person or society is exposed to or likely to experience danger. Then we look at vulnerability, and then we said vulnerability is weakness and the likelihood a person will suffer a damage or calamity or disaster. Then we looked at risk. We just looked at risk. And then we said the risk is a product of hazard, or your risk level, okay, depends on your hazard and your vulnerability. If vulnerability and hazard come together, okay, they determine your risk level. Then we said mitigation, we'll be discussing it more, but mitigations are things that we put in place, procedures we put in place to to prevent a disaster from happening or to reduce the effects of a disaster when it happens. Then we looked at resilience, and we said resilience is strength or the ability to withstand or resist a disaster. Any question up to this point? Any clarification, any contribution, any concern before we zoom into the next topic? Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay, so let's go on.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, I wanted to find out if the term or the word disaster only has a negative effect on our environment or in our societies.
Largely, yes. I don't see the positiveness of a disaster. Disaster, okay, a disaster is more or less whatever happens that is a disaster is negative in nature. But then you can turn something negative into an opportunity. Yeah. Your ability to recover and put in place mitigation measures that will forestall future occurrences of the same disaster becomes your opportunity. But disaster is always negative.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yes. Any other question? Okay. So now we are coming to types and classification of disasters. Now take notes of this session. I spoke about this earlier on. I want you to take note of this session. Now, what you should note is that the types and classifications are different. And many a times we ask questions here to confuse you. So pay particular attention. I've taken time to explain it so that you don't get confused. Okay. All right. Now, let's go on. We have two types of disasters. Okay, types. Notes. Take notes. We have two types of disasters, and then we have about four types of classification of disasters. You'll get to know all of this whilst we go on. Now, the types of disasters we have are natural disasters and then human or man-made disasters. Types of disasters, we have two. We have what we call natural disasters and then man-made or human-made disasters. These two, you should note the difference in their occurrences. Don't mix them up. Sometimes, many a times, I got the opportunity to teach this course. Students get confused with giving examples such as flooding. So when we go ahead, you will see. Let's zoom in. Natural disasters occur as a result of actions of natural forces and tend to be accepted as unfortunate and inevitable. Natural disasters can come from geological forces and climate. Natural disasters are perhaps the most unexpected and costly overall in terms of loss of lives and resources. Natural disasters can be categorized as acute or slow in how they occur. They can be predictable in certain instances. We use a lot of new technology to predict natural disasters. They can be predictable in certain instances since they cluster in geographical areas. Natural disasters with acute onset include events such as earthquake, flood. You come to understand what acute means, okay? For now, just bear with me. Natural disasters with acute onsets include events such as earthquake, flood, hurricane, fire, and take note of fire, tsunami or storm surge, avalanche, volcanic eruption, and heat wave. Now, when you look at all these examples, we'll come to them, you realize that they are all natural in nature, like it is man-made. But I said we'll come to look at fire, and sometimes we also look at flood. Okay, those are two examples that normally confuses students when giving examples. Now, natural hazards with slow or gradual insects include droughts, farming, desertification, deforestation, and pest infestation. Now, we take note of desertification and farming. Sorry, desertification and deforestation. We'll come and we'll be looking into details of that. Students sometimes get confused when explaining these two as examples of natural disasters. Now, natural disasters can have significant economic and food security impact, especially on the poorest household. So what you need to note is that when we say a natural disaster, we only mean that a disaster that human being has no control in its occurrence. It is by nature. It is caused by natural forces. Sometimes weather, sometimes the ecology. I mean ecological. That is the weather, the physical nature or geography. Okay. Now, when you take example of earthquake, you could realize that human being has no intervention. I mean, it just happens by nature, by the nature of the land, okay, by nature of geographical occurrences. It just happens. Yeah. So those are natural disasters. They are different from man-made disasters. And take note of the examples that we provided. Now look at the examples of natural disasters. Types of natural disasters. We have earthquake, of volcanic eruption. We don't experience volcanic eruptions. I have experienced earth trauma, not earthquake. Earthquake did happen in Ghana long ago. Many of us were not born. We don't even remember it in the history. But earth trauma happens a lot around Wager area. Yeah, the land keeps shaking. That is the mouth of the Densu River, you know, and that is a major fault line in geography. We don't want to go too much in geography, okay? So earthquake, we have volcanic eruptions, very absent in Ghana. Deep down earth crust, it may be occurring, but we are not there, so it doesn't happen. I mean, we take it, it's non-existent in Ghana. We have gale. Oh, you should be here to see what gale looks like. We have tidal waves, like that one in Keita. We have drought and flood and others. Okay. All right. So those are natural disasters. Now let's see man-made disasters and then let's have a discussion. Human or man-made disasters have an element of human activity involving intent, negligence, or error involving failure of a man-made system. Such man-made disasters are fires, civil disorders, terrorism, wars, the release of toxic chemical or radioactive materials, explosions, bridge or building collapse, crashes such as road accidents, dam failure, nuclear reactor accident, breaks in water, that is dam, gas explosion, sewer lines, that is drainage or sewage, and deforestation, etc. There is more. You can give so many examples. Now, these disasters tend to involve many more casualties. They are usually unpredictable and can spread across vast geographical areas. Such disasters cause injuries and diseases and casualties. The man-made disasters are usually preventable with little vigilance. Excuse me, yeah? With little vigilance. Oh, I'm getting distracted. So, such disasters cause injuries, diseases, and casualties. In man-made disasters, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Forgive me, yeah? In man-made disasters are usually preventable with little vigilance. They shouldn't occur in the first place. There are issues of blame involving the community spending, and the community spends much time discussing who was responsible and what makes, and of course, when you come to Ghana, a lot of this takes place. That is when you realize that whenever there is a disaster, um, the radio stations start blaming, especially fire disasters. Fire disasters, firemen are suffering in Ghana. Wherever there is a problem of fire, they get beaten, they get blamed for not arriving on time, they get blamed for their failure of equipment, they get blamed for everything. Okay, so this one, that's man-made disasters are usually preventable and with little vigilance. They shouldn't occur in the first place. There are issues of blame involved, and the community spent much time discussing who was responsible and what mistakes were made. And the typical example is the situation of fire service in Ghana. I mean, it's very funny. Okay, so these are the two disasters, okay, that we have: natural disasters and then human or man-made disasters. These are two types of disasters. Take note, two types of disasters. Don't get confused. Any question? Any question?
Sir,
Yes.
please, you were trying to tell us something that there is some that we normally take as or we put them under natural disasters, which are not.
Yes.
But you haven't
So,
mentioned them.
yeah, yes. Take note of this. We have flood. Flood normally is not supposed to be a natural disaster. Flood occurs in Ghana because of drainage and not by sheer volume of the water. Okay, you realize that in Ghana we build on waterways, we build on drains. Okay, we build in aquatic areas. We destroy what do we call them? Rancer sites. We take rancer sites and then destroy them. Build our buildings. Build buildings at rancer sites. Do you know what rancer sites are? Do you know what rancer sites are?
Yes, sir.
Who knows what rancer
No, sir.
site is?
No, sir.
Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, please. Is Ramsar site or Ramsar site?
Ramsar sites. Ramsar sites.
Okay.
Do you know what it
So
is?
I think that there are places in the community that are made that have been allowed to or left to hold waters, rain waters. Uh,
Yes. That is classic. You're good. Okay. Now, Ramsar site in every community, okay, you realize that there is one particular area that is naturally muddy. That is naturally oh, this word. That is oh, somebody help me. Oh,
Water lodge.
waterlog. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. You see, you look at your community, okay? Just look at your community. You come to see there's a particular area. It is waterlogged throughout the year. Now, these areas are supposed to hold waters that
Thank you.
that extra excess waters in the community. So if it rains, the rainwater drains into this area, and that area holds those waters. Okay, many of us are guilty, even me. Okay, in Accra, there's no land, and you look for a place to put your head. Okay, so many of us buy lands in those areas, waterlogged areas. Oh, when you buy a land here, you just get laterite and fill it. You'll be good to go. That is one of the factors that causes um, uh, flooding in our areas, because
Yo,
these areas were made naturally to
I don't
hold
go
excess
down.
water.
I don't go.
Okay, go down. Bye bye. Just mute yourself.
Daki.
So these areas are supposed to hold water, excess water in the community. Okay, and we build in
Mr.
those
Agba,
areas. We take the capacity of
no,
that area to hold
no, no, no.
the. Can somebody
This
mute
one.
him?
Okay,
You just
Richard,
pass it.
just you mute yourself. Richard.
Okay, let me see if I
How they
can
do?
mute him. Uh, who is that? Can't find him. Okay, I think he has muted. Okay, so what I'm saying is that you see, because in Ghana, most of us do not, do not care about these areas. Okay, naturally, the volume of water that we receive from rain is not supposed to cause flooding. But by the nature of the architecture and how we build in Ghana and by the nature of our drains, we experience flood. So this cannot be said to be a natural disaster. So you can safely conclude that the floods that happen in Ghana is not natural disaster. Unlike Sudan, recently there was flooding in Sudan, and you could tell that it is sheer volume of water that the earth could not absorb. It could not absorb all the waters that caused the flood. Have you noticed the difference? So flood
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
could be a natural disaster as well as a man-made disaster, depending on how you explain it. You can safely conclude that in Ghana, flooding that happens in Ghana rarely are natural disasters. They are man-made most of the times. It's because of the reasons I stated. We build in Ramsar site, we we build in waterways, we have a few drainage system. Our drainage system is so small. We don't have a very good drainage system. That is why disasters happening. Look, whatever it happens, flood happens at Kaneshi. Whatever it is, it rains heavily. There's flooding at Kaneshi. You'll be marveled. You'll be marveled, and you realize that it is sheer lack of drains. Okay, and Kaneshi and those areas have been made such that now it is more difficult for us to change the architecture of the place. But the volume of water that comes around that area is huge than the drains can contain. And sometimes we stuff the drains with we choke the drains with a lot of garbages. And when it rains, God save us all. So that is what I wanted to talk about. And also fire. Fires mostly are man-made disasters in Ghana. Many a times fires are man-made disasters in Ghana because you realize that it's the negligence of people that start fires in Ghana. But there are natural occurrences of fire, and many a times there are vegetation fires. That is, or it is when a thunder strikes. Sometimes when the thunder strikes, it combines with the human characteristics, okay, that results in fire. Okay, so thunder can start fire, which can be safely termed as natural, and then also vegetation fires. Sometimes in the forest, when the sun is so hot, it hits objects in the forest that it hits objects in the forest to a certain ignition temperature, and then fires can start. Mostly wildfires start like that. So these two examples, when you are explaining them in terms of natural disasters or man-made disasters, take note of these explanations that I've just given you. Are we together?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes. Is it wisdom? Somebody wants to ask a question. Okay. Is there a question now? No question? Wisdom. Yeah, Wisdom, you can go ahead and ask your question. I don't think Wisdom is ready to ask question. Okay. So now let's go on. Let's do this before break. Now let's look at classification. We can group disasters according to their onset or how it happened as follows. Now, onset is just how the disaster happens. Okay. Some disasters happen very fast. Some disasters happen slowly and gradually. And then, so that is the classification we are looking at. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's look at disasters in terms of their onset or how they happen. Now, we have sudden onset disasters. Okay, sudden onset disasters. Now, the name is sudden. What it means is that it happens swiftly without giving you any notice. And we have classification, we have types of disasters that happen. Now, take notes. Classification of disasters comes with an example from types of disasters. You understand? Now look at it. As the name implies, sudden onset disasters occur swiftly and often without any warning. It includes natural floods. Some natural floods happen like that suddenly, and mostly there's you come to know about this. Okay. And natural floods sometimes so I have classified the flooding into two terms: the one that happen naturally and the ones that happen man-made. So natural floods, earthquake, and tsunami. Who knows what tsunami is? What is tsunami? Who knows what tsunami is? Hello?
We don't know.
Really?
Oh, I don't know.
No idea. I don't know.
So let me try and see.
Okay.
I would say it's a
Okay.
situation where river or water overtakes a whole community that affects human life and properties as well.
Okay. Good try. Good
Yes, sir.
try. But what you need to know is that, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can, sir.
Classmate.
Yes, sir,
We
we
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you, sir.
Okay. So take notes. Natural disasters. Okay. Sorry. Tsunamis. Okay. Are natural disasters and they are earthquake in nature. Tsunami is a Japanese word. Okay. That means earthquake that happens in the sea. Those of you who are a bit old, like me, I'm an old man. If you remember, there had been tsunami in Japan where if an let me show you the scenario. If an earthquake happens on land, it shakes the building, collapse buildings, bridges, and everything, okay, and break dams and cause flooding. Now, there's earthquake that happens in the sea. Take note, one third, I mean, there's water bodies and the sea covers more of the earth than land. Okay, so naturally earthquakes do happen in the sea, and when they happen in the sea, the shock waves carries the sea waves, the sea water onto land. That is what is called tsunami, simply terms. Okay, so simply, tsunami is a Japanese word that means an earthquake that happens in the sea. But how would you know an earthquake has happened in the sea? We will get to know an earthquake happens in the sea because of its effect on land. When the earthquake happens in the sea water comes on land to flood, to cause flooding. Okay, so earthquake happens offshore. It pushes the sea water in violent waves onto lands onshore to destroy life and properties. Okay, so that is tsunami. It's different from tidal waves. Tidal waves that just happen as natural occurrence of how the sea behaves. Tropical storms, and all of this happens suddenly. You know, earthquake happens bang one time without announcing its presence. It is not slow. Then volcanic eruption. The burning starts slowly. You don't notice. By the time you realize, bam, it explodes like a bomb. And then landslides. Landslides the same. When you go to East Africa, they suffer a lot from landslides. And in Ghana, I think areas like Cape Coast is likely to suffer landslides because of the nature, undulating nature of the land. Who knows what landslides is? We have two types. We have mudslides and then landslides. Who knows what landslides is or mudslides? Hello, anyone?
Uh,
Hello, sir.
Yes,
So I think there's one like let's take for example this Ebri to Accra road, Medina road.
yes,
You see there's some hill and there are some heavy rocks on top.
yes,
Sometimes you could still say that
yes.
some will fall on the road, and they'll be announcing that the road is blocked by
Perfect,
some
perfect example.
road.
Perfect example. I stay close to that place, and on Saturday, oh, some of you are around can visit the area. We do a lot of exercise there. We do a lot of walk there. It's a very nice scene in the morning or even in the evening. Nice scene, very beautiful place. But that's a perfect example you gave. You know, landslides do happen because the soil couldn't hold, or the land couldn't hold itself, sometimes due to water seeping into land, or sometimes just by natural causes. Then it slopes down. It needs a slope. Okay, then a portion of the land slopes down and cause disaster. Sometimes it's so big to the extent that it can cover a whole community. Those are landslides. The same applies to mudslides. The difference between landslides and mudslides is that of mudslides happens because there's water in the land, and the water and the land couldn't hold the water, so it seeps down together with the sand, and it becomes, I mean, it mixed with the sand, it becomes mud and seeps down the slope and cover a whole community, sometimes causing a lot of deaths. Now, earthquake cause
Hello,
the
sir.
greatest number of deaths and overwhelming infrastructure damage. Communities at risk of the types of disasters should recognize and respond to threats posed by local weather patterns and the shape and contours of the land. So, what this means is that if you are located one on a fault line that is an earthquake prone area, you should take note of the type of building you put up, and then also how to respond in terms of earthquake. Normally, when earthquake happens, it is advised that you slide yourself under the table or your bed or under your mattress so that debris don't fall on top of your head and kill you. Alternatively, you can stand under, what do we call it? The door frame. Normally, the door frame provides protection in terms of falling debris, and the door frames so are made in a nature that sometimes prevents prevents them from collapsing. So because of that, you are protected. Yeah, good. So that is for sudden onset disasters, disasters that happen so quick without announcing. I mean, they just happen without giving any signal. Typical example is earthquake. Now, the next one is slow onset disasters. That's the name. That's how the name implies. These disasters are usually the result of adverse weather condition combined with poor land use. It includes droughts, farming, environmental degradation, deforestation, loss of trees and vegetable. That is deforestation, pest infestation, and desertification. Okay. Slow onset disasters can be prevented because they happen over a long period of time. So we'll see the signs that, oh, there's going to be um, um, farming, shortage of food. So if we want, we can import food into the country. You know, just like those of you who are biblical, you realize that Joseph saw the famine coming in his in the in king's dream, and then forewarned the king, and then they made preparation and made preservation of foods for which they were able to survive during the famine period. So this tells you that onset disasters, okay, can be prevented. Now, take note, early warning system can be easily put in place to lessen or even prevent the disaster. So because they are slow in setting in, we can take pragmatic steps to prevent them from happening. So if it is pest infestation, we started seeing the pests are coming up, and we'll take steps to control it. Desertification, if it starts, the place likely to experience the desertification is the three northern regions. So I remember in the past, during the PNDC period or so, there is tree planting activities in order to save the savannah region. I mean, those are when there's early warning stage. I mean, when there's early warning as a slow onset disaster, you take pragmatic steps to forestall it. The next one is industrial or technological disasters. Now, take note of these two, sudden onset disasters and slow onset disasters. These are the two major ones. Okay. Now, these additional ones, okay, have been added in order to show you the nature of certain types of disasters too. But there are also classification. We classify disasters like this. Okay. So industrial or technological disasters. Disasters result from a society's industrial or technological activities that leads to pollution, spillage, explosion, and fires. They may occur because of poor planning and construction of man-made facilities, that is building factories, etc., or from neglect of safety procedures. Now, sudden onset disasters such as earthquake, flood, and terrorist acts may trigger secondary disasters such as fires or pollutions. Industrial events have the potential to cause large scale loss of lives and infrastructure damage, especially in developing countries with unregulated industrialization and inadequate safety standards and disaster response capacity. Wherever there is a man-made facility, there's a potential for an industrial or technological disasters to happen. Now, quite a few weeks ago here, there was a near disaster, technological disaster on the train tracks. And that day, everybody that uses the train system was late at work. And that's affected productivity a lot. Here, the major transport for many people is train. And more or less, when there is a disruption in that network, it causes great, it causes a near disaster for all workers, you know. So what technological disaster means that as a result of technological developments, okay, industries, factories, governments build facilities, and whenever there is a natural disaster, it triggers these facilities, and then we have technological disaster. So, for instance, if there's an earthquake, you realize that if there's an earthquake at Atomic in Ghana, imagine what will happen. The nuclear sites at Atomic will release some nuclear products into the society, and we are all at risk, you know. So that is it for technological disasters. Then we have what we call complex emergencies. Now, by nature of the word, you realize that complex emergency is a condition where there is more than one disaster at the same time. In most cases, a major disaster activates other disasters, resulting in a complex disaster situation. It may either be from a natural or man-made causes with multiple contributory factors. For example, a natural disaster such as earthquake may trigger fire. It may trigger volcano and may collapse a dam that may cause flooding. So one disaster can cause three disasters. So earthquake alone can cause fire in a certain industry or home. Okay, it can cause volcano by ripping off the fixtures. Then the lava from the volcanic action that was supposed to be buried will come out of the earth, and then also can collapse a dam. One disaster, three consequences, three additional disasters. Further, a war, civil war, or internal conflict situation may lead to population displacement, that is refugee. It may lead to refugee problems, okay? It may lead to food shortages. It may lead to insecurity and whatever comes with insecurity, you already know. And then may start an epidemic and also cause higher death rates. So one conflict or war has a lot of consequences. Go to Gaza when they are being bombed, and you'll be sad. One conflict cause malnourished children. Those already on dialysis cannot go access medicine from the hospital because the hospitals are no more. And so those people also die, causes death. Okay. Because there are bombs everywhere. Food cannot reach the people. People can't go to farm. People can't go to the marketplace. It causes famine. Okay. And then also displaces people. So that is it for complex emergency. Then we have epidemic as a classification. Now, these are diseases that normally do not occur in one area or community, but have the potential to spread under certain conditions. This can cause frequent or severe outbreak. These diseases may be spread by contaminated water, food, air, person-to-person contact, through animal or insect factors, etc. Now, example of epidemic disease that commonly threaten displaced population include cholera. Cholera in Ghana. There, those of you in Cape Coast, there's always cholera around June, July when the rain sets in. I don't know why it is like that. There was a time when it became so pandemic to the extent that they were quarantining people, and we needed to create tents outside the UCC hospital to be receiving patients from cholera. It was a disaster in itself, you know, and multiple people were affected, taxi drivers, other passengers, anybody that was using the taxi system in Cape Coast was at risk. You know, cholera, measles, dysentery, respiratory infections, malaria, and coronavirus, and HIV. HIV cases. After a major disaster, the risk of epidemic diseases increase mainly as a result of overcrowding and unhygienic conditions. So this is it for epidemic. Okay. There is one epidemic that happens. Okay. Can somebody give me who knows what qualifies to be an epidemic? When we say a disease has reached an epidemic level, what does it mean? Anybody?
Yeah, please. It means it's beyond borders, basically. At least it's not something that is confined to one particular, probably a place. It's beyond a country or something that is worldwide. That's what I can just put it.
Yeah,
Right.
one can also say that is what is beyond control.
Yeah, good try. Good try. Any other?
So maybe I would say it's a wind spread disease.
Yeah, it's an example of an epidemic, where epidemic that spread through airborne. That's a good example. Anybody else? Anybody with health
Say something.
um
It means it is spread quickly.
yes, but I'm anybody in the health sector in this class?
Within a town or within one region.
Yeah. Okay, you just leave it at this level. You see, it is only a disease, okay, that affects a large number of people. Okay, we're looking at numbers. Also, for instance, in a week, okay, in a week, 10 people, 20 people reported of the same type of health condition. Okay, then we start getting the signal that something is going to. So if more than 10 people report the same type of disease condition, then we start investigating what is happening. So if the number keeps increasing, then it is assuming epidemic level. Do you understand? So it has to do with numbers, okay, not how wide. Okay, numbers and how widespread it is. Okay, in a week, are we getting it? So, for instance, people may get thousand
Yes,
people
sir.
may get malaria in Ghana. In a year, it is not an epidemic because it is not, I mean, it is an aggregate of all the malaria cases in Ghana. But if, for instance, 100 people at a go happen to report malaria at Abra or Cape Coast Hospital, okay, then it triggers something. I was like, okay, really? 100 or 20 people at a go, then we need to investigate the area. Maybe there are anaphylos mosquitoes that that spread malaria have all migrated from all the parts of the world and settled at Cape Coast. So that is why the number is increasing, or something may have been the cause. Are you getting it? So it has to do with numbers. Okay. Okay. So let's pause here. I'll give you another 10 minutes to come back. If you have any questions, then we'll take it after you come back. So you ponder around these ones, ponder around the type of disasters and classification of disasters. When we come back from break, we take your question. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Good. Good. So
Yes, sir.
take 10 minutes break and let's stretch. Yes. Yes, I can hear someone. Okay, let's make it after break. Okay. All right.
ele não tem passado mais, ele não tem mais, ele é todo, ele não tem que ser todo, e a saúde dele. E aí que é animal, animal do peixe, a mãe, menina iguana, iguana. Yeah. Aku, nah, aku wanita man, business meeting, or I say, I mean, now it's not much in the common. Maybe we have an attitude, we are in Chitaya Kai, so well, and then we to. I can't complain, I don't complain, it's really directly. It's in the next, the carry, it's in the command. Either way, it's a begin and the new one chance. My other father goes to the fair. And he, by the old people, being that insurance plan, there are the few that are. Well, it's by us, but not she. Making completing. Actually, she gave completing, just 2 weeks. I believe. Yin by the end of a journey to the past. What we find the end, it's in that kind. So, in some corner, I see a good state. You fortunately, fortunately, I'm thinking I did my yeah, before so now, big, big, saying that you have an we don't do yeah, we should that is it. Yeah, we can go, but I'm with 10 minutes. Hey, so I don't know 14 minutes, got it, but it might be to us 14 minutes back, time. Last year, you know, I really, we get 70 games from I think that means I think any question, any question, how could I use it? How could I use it? How could I use it?
Bakula abinci na faɗi. Abin da ya sa da kike sauri ki je gida kike yana. Abin da ke tsakanin ki da gayen nan, Allah ka dai sani. Na faɗi, na faɗi. Hi guys, are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are here, sir.
Beautiful. Okay, so this last session is going to be question and answers, okay?
Okay.
We'll do a little recap of what we did today, and then we'll do question and answers, okay? And I realize that our number has reduced. We've come from 27 to 25. What is happening, class rep? Class rep, hello?
So the class rep is also facing some network challenges.
Wow, problem come. Why are we having network challenges like that? Which network are they using? Or some of them, okay, we've come to 28. Okay, it's okay. All right, so any question? Oh, okay, so wait, let's do the recap first. Okay, let's do the recap, and then if you have any question, we go with it, right? So we started by introducing the subject. I told you this course is in three forms or three subjects. We have disaster management, we have first aid, we have occupational health and safety or occupational hazards. So then we set the background in disaster management. We looked at the definition of a disaster. Then we looked at terminologies related to disasters. Which terminologies we talked about? Emergency, hazards, susceptibility, vulnerability, risk, mitigation, resilience, and then also we spoke about uh, types and classification of disasters. Now, with types and classification of disasters, we notice that we have natural disaster, and then we have human or man-made disasters. With classification, we said the classification is looking at the occurrence or how the disaster happens. Okay, so we look at sudden onset disasters, which disasters happen suddenly without warning. With typical example is an earthquake. Another typical example is tidal wave or tropical storms like rainstorms, like, and then strong winds like hurricane. Okay. Then we looked at slow onset disasters. We say many of them are man-made disasters. We look at farming, we look at land degradation, we look at pest infestation, epidemics, I mean, some of these are some of the examples we mentioned. We said the slow onset disaster normally gives a signal or warning, and that we can overcome it through putting up mitigation measures. Sorry, guys, putting up mitigation measures to forestall it. Then we have industrial or technological um, disasters, which result as which happen because of industrialization or advancement in technology. Examples we said is explosion or spillage of dangerous chemicals. Then also building collapse, dams, and all of that forms part of infrastructure or technological disasters. Then we also talked about complex emergencies, which is another classification of emergencies where one emergency or disaster triggers so many other emergencies or disasters. Then we have epidemic, and we said epidemic. I think many of us have experienced one epidemic that puts the whole world to hold. Wow. One epidemic stopped everything, and everybody had a story to tell about that epidemic. So, epidemic is one of the classification of disasters. Yeah. Okay. So, we stopped here. Our next topic will be another classification of disasters, but this time we are looking at the phases of disasters. So let's go back. Any questions, general questions or specific questions to these chapters? Any
Yes,
question?
with the complex emergencies,
Yes.
can we accept the the June 3rd occurrence in Ghana where fire and flood occurred
Perfect
as
example.
complex emergency?
Perfect example.
Yes,
Very perfect example. And it causes a lot of death. So you see, there's fire, flood, there is fire, there is a lot
Yes,
of death. Okay, and that also means that our facility will be overstretched at the hospitals. You know, perfect example is the June 3rd fire and flood disasters. So in your essays, when we give you questions of this nature and you cite that example, you score everything. Perfect example. Thank you. Prince, right? Prince Saki, yeah?
yes, sir.
Yes. Any other question, please? From definition to terminologies to types of disasters and classification of disasters. Any question? Okay. The other house is so quiet.
So we are here.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
We are quick to go, sir.
Say again.
We are quick to go.
You are good to go, right?
So we can move on, sir.
Yes, I don't want to overload you with a lot of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I rather, if you don't have questions for me, I rather will ask you questions. Are we good?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello,
Definitely.
hello,
Yeah.
sir. Sir, I
Yes.
would like you to throw more light on the hazard and then the disaster. I mean, a colleague asked a question about the difference, but during that time, my network was disturbing, so I could
Okay.
not get your explanation well. If you could please, I
Okay.
throw more light on it.
Okay. Okay. Simple. Just simple. Take a hazard. We said is a disaster in waiting. A hazard is anything that has the potential to cause a disaster. A disaster is an emergency, an event that causes death, destructions, injuries, okay, that exceed the level of which the society or the affected person can take, or that disrupts um, normal flow of life to the extent that the community or the individual facing in the victim cannot um, cannot take care of it without external help. Okay. And then we cited a very good example. You see, when a community is located close to a water body, let's take Keita for instance. If you take Keita, Keita is at the coast. Or let's even take Cape Coast. Cape Coast is closer to the sea. Okay. The sea is a hazard, but does not cause disaster. If waves of the sea should be triggered by either internal geological forces, and then the water of the sea rushes onto land, that is when it causes a disaster. One of your colleagues gave another example. Say, if you put chemical in a bottled water that's meant for drinking and you don't place it well, the chemical you put in the bottled water that can cause injury is a hazard. If anybody goes to take it and then drink it, that is when it causes a disaster. So a hazard is a potential thing that can cause a disaster, but a hazard in itself is not a disaster. So you can see a lot of hazards around. Okay, high-rise building is a hazard. If there is an earthquake and it breaks, I mean the building collapse, it becomes a disaster. Akosombo Dam is hazard. If the dam breaks and causes flooding on the lower lands, it becomes a disaster. So anything that has the potential to cause a disaster is what we call a hazard. Do you understand?
Okay, sir. I'm now fine, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yakubu, if you understand, I want you to give me an example or an illustration different from what I have said.
Okay, sir. Let's say, for example, building your house closer to a filling station.
Good. So a gas filling station, then what becomes the hazard and what potential disaster can occur?
So the gas become the hazard, and when
Good,
explosion happens, then it
good,
will cause damage.
good, good.
So when the
So
explosion
when
happens,
there
then
is
it
an
now becomes
explosion, yeah,
yes, sir.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. You made me happy. So when the gas explodes, it becomes an explosion disaster, right? That's good.
Okay,
That's
sir.
good. That's good. Any other concerns? Any other concerns?
Sir,
Yes.
uh, the explanation of disaster, we talk about disaster, the classifications. Sometimes you hear of the word crisis, crisis. How different is crisis from disaster? For instance, this COVID-19 issue, which is it a disaster or crisis? If it is a disaster, which of the classifications does it fall under? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just the example you gave, okay, COVID-19 is a disaster. Disaster situation always results in a crisis situation. Crisis is just like an emergencies, okay? Um, COVID-19 is a disaster that falls under the category or the classification as an epidemic, okay? If you remember, the rate at which COVID was spreading was so high, from one case down to 100 cases. It got to a time in Ghana, wake up and then you are only looking for the numbers. The numbers keep increasing. So uh, your example as COVID was, sorry, under the classification of an epidemic. That's why you see COVID-19 pandemic. COVID, everybody keeps saying COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah. So that is it for your question. But crisis in itself is just like saying an emergency, because every disaster mostly causes a crisis situation, causes an emergency situation, and it requires extraordinary measures to forestall it. I mean, to contain it. Yeah.
All right, thank
Actually, I
you,
hope
sir.
I answered you. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good. Yeah. Any other question? Okay. In- yes, Anthony.
Please, good evening, sir. Please,
Good evening,
I
my
wanted
brother.
to ask, I wanted to ask, it means any dangerous artifact or anything, is it an hazard?
I didn't get that. Can you repeat again?
I said, any dangerous material
Anthony,
or an asset, sir,
any dangerous what?
material or object, is it an hazard?
Yes, if it is potentially it can, if triggered, it can cause a disaster. Anything that is dangerous, okay, is a hazard. In terms of if it is triggered, it can cause a widespread disaster. So disaster is any danger that is lying in waiting to be triggered. Sorry, hazard is any dangerous uh, item or anything dangerous lying in waiting to be triggered to become a disaster. Okay? So danger
Yes, sir.
can be a synonym for hazards. Yeah. Any other question?
Sir, sir,
Yes, Anthony again.
sir, please, I want to know the interventions in which will take in place as an first aid student to curb hazardous situation in the environment or
Oh,
disaster.
okay. Yes. You may have to hold on to that question because we'll be treating it in this course. This is just an introduction of the course. We'll be doing more on how to manage all of these items that we just mentioned to you. This is just preliminaries. We want you to introduce the course to you, we want you to know what the course is all about, the terminology, some of the things you should be looking out for in this course. Now, going forward, we'll show you how to manage all of these disasters. We'll be showing mitigation measures. We'll be teaching you how to prepare for disasters. We'll be teaching you how to, when the disaster happens, what to do, how to escape from disasters, what to do when there is flood, what to do when there's an earthquake. We'll be teaching you all of that. And then also we'll be teaching you how to manage a community that is that's is affected by disasters. So when after the course, you should be able to manage disasters on your own. We should be able to send you as an ambassador to a community, or whenever there's disaster in your community, you can form a team, or before even the disaster strikes, you can form a team to prevent the disaster from happening. So these questions will be answered whilst we continue with the course. Is that okay? It's a very interesting course. If you pay attention at the end of the course, you'll be very happy you took this course. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I want to ask or understand the difference between disaster and tsunami very well. When my brother Saki gave an example of the national disaster as the circle one, the June 3rd one,
Yeah.
and with what you explained upon tsunami,
Yes.
you made us understand that tsunami happens or is where uh, like huge waves from the sea
Yes.
comes offshore to destroy buildings and other stuffs.
Yes.
With a critical look at the national disaster, the June 3rd, what happened?
Yes.
It also came with huge rivers, including which entered the filling stations, and fire also, exploded, and the tanks exploded, causing fire explosion and all that things. Buildings
Yeah.
were burned down, stores and others, like huge, so many properties. In this, can you give that June 3rd as an example of tsunami? That is
Okay.
where I want you to, like
Okay.
elaborate a
Okay.
bit on for me.
Okay. Get it close. Get it well. Okay. What your colleague said is that the June 3rd is a perfect example of a complex disaster. Two or more disasters happening at the same time. That's a very perfect example of a complex disaster. Tsunami is different. Tsunami is an earthquake that happened at sea with the resultant effect being felt on land. I told you that it's a Japanese word that means an earthquake that happens in the sea. So if an earthquake happens in the sea, it is called tsunami. But if an earthquake happens in the sea and doesn't disrupt any form of life in the sea, it doesn't it has no effect. It is not called a disaster. Mind you, a disaster should be an event. That event should cause damages to properties and lives. Okay, then it qualifies to be a disaster. So there's this example that I say sometimes that if a disaster happens on a desert, sorry, if an earthquake on a desert A desert where there are no animals, there's no water body, there's nothing, there's an earthquake on the desert. Does it qualify to be a disaster? The answer to that is no, because it doesn't cause any death. So the difference you should note is that and doesn't cause any injury and it doesn't affect life. So if tsunami is an earthquake that happens in the sea, if it doesn't affect any life, it has no concern. It has no it is of no concern to the definition of disaster. But this earthquake normally happens in the sea, and then it pushes water in terms of waves onto land, and that causes distractions. So that is what is called tsunami. So tsunami in simple terms is earthquake that happen in the sea for which its effect is felt on land. And I said it is a Japanese word. Okay. It has nothing to do with, sorry about that. It has nothing to do with the fact that a disaster, it has nothing to do with complex disasters. Of course, if an earthquake happens in the sea and the effect happens on land and it triggers other forms of disasters on land, tsunami could be a trigger for complex emergencies. But tsunami in itself is not a complex emergency by its nature. And get the name tsunami and the definition or what is tsunami very clearly. It is just an earthquake that happened in the sea, and the resultant effect is felt on land. Do you understand, Anthony?
There's no something, please. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
something.
I understand.
Yeah, good. Good.
Okay. With this explanation, a follow up, not necessarily a question, but wants to know when the dam is open, especially the Wager side, those Oblogo areas,
Yeah.
when for like overflow, when it is opened, though
Yeah.
they give an announcement of nearby residents should move out and all sort of things.
Yeah.
Can it be termed or can it be an example of a complex disaster?
If it triggers other disasters, the dam is open. Normally, it causes flooding. Okay, so
Yes.
let's
Yes.
assume that it causes flooding, and then mind you, the dam is open, controlled, not because it is broken. So there is no breakage. That doesn't mean that means it is not a disaster. It is carefully open to spill water downstream. Now, if that causes flooding downstream, it is just a disaster. But if the flood downstream triggers other forms of disasters, so for instance, maybe the flood downstream causes another building to collapse or causes fire in a certain building, then it becomes a complex emergency, one emergency leading to another. Okay, there is flood. Now the flood has led to the collapse of a building. Okay, and people have trapped in that building that needed to be rescued. Then that becomes a complex disaster. You understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. Good. You can come again if you're still confused about something, okay? But get the explanation clearly. One disaster that causes another becomes a complex disaster. Yeah?
So in this case, a complex disaster is where a disaster leads to another disaster.
Perfect. Perfect.
So in this case, as the dam is
Yeah.
open, the dam is
Yeah.
not being it opening it is not a disaster.
No.
Yes, it's not a disaster by opening
No,
it.
not at all.
But
Not at all.
in the event of opening it just to let some waters out, it causes huge disaster by killing people, bringing down properties, and all sort of things.
Yes, it causes flood, and the flood
Yes.
may cause a building collapse. If it causes a building collapse, then it becomes a complex. So the flood itself is a disaster. It may cause displacement of people. That is another disaster. It may cause the building to collapse. That is another disaster. It may cause fire. That is another disaster. So three disasters because of one disaster. Three emergencies because of one disaster. So it becomes a complex emergency. You understand? And then we'll teach you in first aid, we'll teach you how to take care of complex emergencies. We have something we call triage and how to treat emergencies, how to classify emergencies and which one to attend first and which one to attend last. We'll teach you that in this course. Okay.
All right, sir.
All right.
Yes,
Any
sir.
other question? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Prince.
Sir, with the opening of the of the dam, can it
Yeah.
also be termed as the slow onset disaster?
Perfect. Perfect. So you realize that when the dam is opened, it takes time to flood the communities downstairs, downstream. It is not only at Wager. When you get to Bagri, the Bagri Dam in Ivory Coast, okay, there's time where the Bagri Dam is open to still water. People downstream are warned, and
Akosobo 1, 2 as well.
yes, the Akosombo Dam, I remember, was flooded and caused a lot of flood, and we needed to take measures. So you realize that it takes time for the flood waters to take over the community. So it can perfectly be described as slow onset. Yeah, that's a perfect example. Well done. Thank you, Prince Saki.
So,
Yes, sir.
sir,
Welcome, sir.
with this, it justifies that opening of dam is rather a slow onset disaster, but not a complex disaster.
No, there's a different.
Can it be put?
It
No,
can
no,
also
see,
lead
no.
to
It can lead to it can lead to a slow onset disaster can lead to complex disaster. A slow, we have sudden onset and slow onset. Those are the characteristics of a disaster, and as to how they happened. Do you understand? An emergency, a complex emergency is just the fact that they you need one disaster to happen to trigger several other disasters. So any disaster can can result in a complex disaster situation, or can result in a complex emergency situation. Note, it is not complex disaster, it is complex emergencies. It means one disaster can cause several other emergencies. You understand? Just one disaster can result in several other emergencies. One disaster, as we said, for instance, war, civil war, okay, may result in famine, which is an emergency, may result in food shortage, may result in malnutrition, may result in pandemic. I get it. Just one disaster, okay, has several emergencies. Several, and an emergency, as we said, is something that requires an immediate attention. Are you getting it? So if it
Another
triggers
example
other
is
disasters that requires immediate attention, then we are talking about complex emergencies as a classification of disasters. Yeah?
happy at explosion.
Yes. What about the explosion?
Appear explosion that cause fire, destruction to property and death as well.
Yeah, perfect. So it calls for a lot of emergencies. It triggers a lot of other emergencies. Yeah. Get it and read that portion carefully. You get the meaning. It is well worded. Okay. Um, we have 5 minutes more. I want to give you an assignment. Okay. You'll be presenting it next week. You all should forward it to um um your your class rep, and he will forward it to me. Um, we have what we call reflections. Okay, so write your IRP, that is your reflections on the lesson we learned today. Okay, what did you learn? So in writing your just one page. Okay, write a one-page reflection of what you learned today. So what it means is that everything we learned today, okay, write one page summary of everything you learned in your own language. Don't go and copy the the don't go and copy the model and send it to me. You score zero. Okay. Write your reflections on what you learned today. Okay, from the background to definitions to terminologies, type of disasters, classification of disasters. Just write one page reflection on what you learned today, what you remembered you learned today. Okay, is it clear?
Sir, please,
Very,
if
very clear,
I
sir.
So
understand.
I'll send. Don't worry. I'll send the question to your
Rep, course rep.
your class rep. Yeah, I'll send it to him, and then you do it and then present it out next week for the class. Okay.
All right, sir. Sir, I wanted to know whether the reflection is going to base on whole unit one from session one to
Everything we
session
learned
six.
today, everything you learned today. Well, what it means is that everything you learned in this course today, now, okay, that we are going to end in the next 2 minutes. Okay, you write your reflections. What we mean by reflection is what you understood in your own language, what you understand by what we learned today. I getting it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Your own word with just one page. Just tell me your understanding. We call it reflections on the topic reflections. Okay, just or the unit reflections. Just tell me everything you understood. Okay, that we did today. One page, not much, and no cut and paste. Your own words. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good, good.
Sir,
Okay, yeah, Anthony.
sir, please, I wanted to ask whether we should type it or write it in normal way and send it to the
Oh no,
course.
I think it would be best if you type it. Okay,
Pardon, sir.
because sometimes I cannot read your handwriting, and I'm going to receive it on soft copy, so I don't see how when you type it, I mean when you write handwritten, I'm going to receive it. So if you can type it, it will be best.
And we send it to the course, sir.
Yeah, send it to the course rep. We'll discuss it in the next class we meet. And send this message to the people who couldn't participate or who had network problem. And what it means is that you have to take time to explain to them what we did today, okay? But we'll end the course. We'll end the today's unit here. I want to thank you very much for participating, and I expect to see more participation next week. Um,
Yes, sir.
it promises to be a very um um interesting course. I will enjoy you guys, your contributions, your questions. Very, very interesting. I'm happy to be with you guys. Yeah. Slowly we'll get there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
All right.
sir, just one observation. I don't know.
Yes.
Yes, I think we've been taught feedback is important in communication and
Yes.
observation. We love your class.
Yes.
That
Okay.
if you could speed up a bit, not too much, in
Okay.
between. Yes, we were
Okay.
enjoying the class. All right, the
Yeah, but it
explanations,
is slow,
everything.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
a bit
Okay.
slow. Not, I
Okay.
mean, not too
Okay. I
fast.
did it on purpose.
But you,
Yeah.
you uh,
No
okay.
problem. I understand. I did it on purpose because an online class, okay. Um, to be honest with you, an online class is also it's not supposed to be rushed because you don't have that physical contact with the people. So you don't know who you are speaking to and how fast or slow they take it. So you needed to take your time in order to ensure that you they internalize whatever it is you're teaching. But that's well said. I've taken notice of it, and then we'll see in next class some improvement. What you should note is that we are going according to um, the academic calendar, and then we'll ensure we are able to finish the course according to the academic calendar. So we cannot rush. We are just on point. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, please don't misunderstand my point, though. Maybe you might. I don't mean any harm. It's just an
No, no,
observation,
no,
sir.
no. I understand
Yes,
your
sir.
concern.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Um,
Thank you, sir.
I understand your concern. Okay. But we are on point. I
Th-
mean, we are on track. I mean,
yeah,
okay.
yes, sir. Exactly so.
Okay.
Exactly so, sir.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
I thank you for the observation. Well done.
Thank you,
Any
sir.
other concern? Other than that, I think we should close now. Anthony, you want to say something? It's time.
What are we meeting again, sir?
Yeah, we'll communicate that one to you, but it's probably the same time next week or earlier. Perhaps we'll do the Saturday class and then the Sunday class. So I'll communicate that one to the course rep. We'll meet here again. Okay. I'm more
All right.
hey, hold
Thank
on.
you.
I'm more comfortable with this time because by experience, many people when we follow the timetable, it's more inconvenience for them. So for instance, on Sunday, normally I don't get people participate pre before they go to church. But when they come from church and they are home around the time we started, there are many people are home, well relaxed. On Saturday too, you realize that you are doing the class and somebody is at funeral or a certain wedding program, and I don't get higher participation. So that's why we did this arrangement in order that I can get a little participation. And I think we are not wrong because the participation today is very high. You know, that is not to inconvenience anyone. If you are not comfortable with this arrangement, you can communicate that one to the class rep and then we'll make amendment. Is that okay? So this is to the whole class. Okay. If you are not comfortable with this arrangement, just let me know, discuss it among yourself and get back to me. Okay, class rep.
Sir, I will inform him accordingly.
Good, good. So you can discuss it with the class rep and then get back to me. But I feel from past experience that around the time we started the class, around 3 p.m., we get maximum attention, we get maximum participation because most people would then by that time have come from church or have come from any program that they are from, and then they are home relaxing, waiting for the next day to go to work. But if you do it on Saturdays, you get little participation because people will be at weddings and blah blah blah, and it's disruptive. Okay, let me leave you now. Whatever it is you discuss, let me hear it from the class rep, and then I'll be waiting for my reflection assignment. Thank you very much, all. See you next week. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Because they show not have a class.